Well, from the early scenes of Mickey Rourke's character, I got a very strong impression that he is not the protagonist of the movie. He had kind of a bad guy vibe.
How could you tell?
Well, separate from the fact that he, like, pretty brutally murders a guy and sets him on fire, and just the sort of latent, constant, implicit threat of sexual violence. Anytime your character is, like, eating stuff really messily in every scene, he's, like, shoving, like, pomegranates into his mouth and spitting out seeds, or, like, cracking walnuts and scattering them on the ground, and kind of, like...
Every fucking scene he's in is just one gross mouth noise after another.
If your character is making mouth noises, they're not the good guy in the movie, I think.
I think that's a pretty good rule of thumb.
Like the big misophonia won out, and if your character is chewing gum with their mouth closed, that's how you know that's them saving the cat.
Although, how do we feel about Chris Pine eating an apple as Kirk? Because he said it makes you look more confident and cocky.
I mean, that was pretty fun. That was a fun time. But I mean, Kirk has stuff to learn. By the end of that Star Trek movie, Chris Pine is chewing with his mouth closed because he's not as cocky. That's his big arc in the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got, like, I think that Mickey Rourke in this movie is really, he watched Apocalypse Now, he saw Marlon Brando in that, and was like, that's gonna be my bit, I'm gonna be mumbly and muttery, I'm gonna be always talking with my mouth full, and that's how I'm gonna show that I'm an insane person in command of an army. I mean, did you find his performance compelling? Did you find him riveting?
Oh my god, at risk of relitigating old wounds on this show, you brought up Marlon Brando, and there is something about the kind of just tossed off nature of a performance that brings out like an effortlessness.
Yeah.
I do, like, it would be easy to go, oh, he's not doing it, he doesn't care, he doesn't want to be here on set. I don't get that impression, really. It's just like an old hand who doesn't need to overplay it. Like, he knows, he's got one or two little things he does with the eating or whatever and mumbling, but, like, he knows how to create menace through juxtaposition. He's not yelling at any point. He's not really, I mean, one or two moments he loses his temper, but, he's creating dread through understated performance.
Yeah, well, yeah, this could not be further removed than Marlon Brando's performance in Don Juan DeMarco. He very clearly gives a shit about being in the movie, and this is a very considered choice that I think is effective. I find him very unsettling and upsetting. I don't like this guy. I think he is a bad dude. And that comes through, and I think it's also, when you're in the realm of Greek mythology and big, you think about, like, gods throwing lightning bolts at each other on top of a mountaintop and making dramatic speeches. So the fact that this guy who is this force of evil is so played in such an understated way, and I mean, you've got the banality of evil going on with just, it's a guy who's sort of lounging around and eating and just going about the day-to-day tasks of inflicting so much pain and suffering on people.
Yeah, and that's where the mirror to Theseus, I think, is very interesting, because, like, Hyperion is so not set in his ways, but he's like, he's got his center, right? It might not be a moral center, but like, he is sure of himself and his cause, and he's out to take over the world, take the gods down, whatever the fuck you want to attribute as his brass ring.
Yeah.
That, like, he doesn't have to lash out. He doesn't have to be, squirrely and try to get his point across. Mm-hmm. He's living his point. Where Theseus, being an atheist and not even being to the place of King Hyperion where you are rejecting the gods, he's never really bought into the idea in the first place, and so there's an aimlessness to him. There's a like, I don't know what to do next, this world doesn't make any sense to me, and, like, how do I get from one thing to the next? We're all small potatoes in this. Subscribe to Movie Memory Machine for new forgotten movies every other Friday, available wherever you listen to podcasts.